Hello everyone, I'm Joanne Brennan. I'm the CEO of the EAPC, and I am delighted to be joined here by my colleague Patricia White, who is going to help me today to develop this little video which is aimed for the people who come to our Congress and chair some of the sessions. It's a really important job at the Congress, moderating the sessions. And a key role of the chairs is to make sure that the speakers and both the delegates have a really valuable learning experience in each of the Congress sessions. So Patricia, I'm going to ask you now, what are the main roles of the chairs?
Thanks, Joanne, and thanks for this opportunity. I think the main role for the chairs really is to welcome everyone and to make sure that the presenters feel at ease. And I think that's the key thing, because if the presenters are at ease, then they will maybe enjoy the session a little bit more, and then everybody will feel at ease. The other key thing, unfortunately, is timekeeping, because if we don't keep to time during the session, it has a knock-on effect for the whole Congress. And we'd like to think that at the EAPC that we do keep to time, and that if people want to move between sessions, that's possible. So timekeeping is a really important aspect. The other things really are about facilitating discussion at the end of the presentation and being an advocate for the audience, and facilitating any discussion that may happen. But I think the most important thing is in the beginning to welcome the presenters and for them to feel at ease.
Okay, thanks. And I suppose we should also mention that we always have two co-chairs in any of the rooms. So there's always somebody there beside you who can support you as a chair too. So if I know I'm coming to chair a session at EAPC, what kind of things should I be doing before I get there?
So you'll have the information anyway from the EAPC, and have a look at the session beforehand, read through the abstracts that are there, so you're familiar with who is presenting and the information that they're presenting, because you may want to have a couple of questions prepared, because sometimes people can be quiet or there may not be questions immediately coming from the audience. So what I would do before the session, though, is always get there early and make sure that you know what time you're on at, what room you're in. And as I say, to review all of the abstracts, but you can also look at the speakers' bios, and everything will be there in the Congress app. And I always feel what I do when I'm chairing a session is I get there early to introduce myself to the presenters, so that I know them, but also so they know me. And that's about putting them at ease. And there will always be somebody who it's their first time and who may be particularly nervous, or there may be someone who's been doing it for a long time and is particularly nervous. And as a chair, you can feel nervous too, and that's normal. And that's okay. But remember that your role then is to make sure that the presenters feel at ease, and that they know that no matter what happens, you have it under control. You and your co-chair, you are in charge of that session. They don't need to worry about anything to do with the technology or facilitating discussion. You can look after that. All they have to think about is presenting their work, and you should be proud to be presenting it. So for me, that's really important, to have that time with the speakers beforehand and to arrive early to greet them.
Yeah, I think it must be really quite reassuring to have that when you walk into a room and see that the chair is really welcoming. Thank you. So typically we have chairs in different types of session in the Congress, but I suppose the most common type of session where we have our chairs who have a real key timekeeping task is the abstract submission and the oral abstract sessions. So these sessions typically might have 6 speakers. The total time for the session is 90 minutes, so each speaker would speak for around about 7 minutes, and then there's time for question and answer afterwards. So how as a chair do you approach managing that during the session?
Also, an important thing for when you arrive early is also to meet your co-chair. And you may have met them during the Congress already. You may not know them. So it's important that you and the co-chair just have those few minutes together beforehand and deciding, okay, look, I will open this, I will take the first presentation, you take the next one, and how you're going to share that. So take a moment or two with that as well. And so how you have that divided out, how you will be during the session. So you open the session, you welcome the audience, and you introduce yourself and your co-chair, and then you state the session title. And then there's usually a little bit of housekeeping that needs to be done. So, reminding people that their phone should be on silent, and that we'll keep the questions till after each speaker. And then you just start and you introduce the speaker and welcome them. And then it starts from there. But it is important, as I said, to have the timekeeping is kept strict. So don't be afraid to interrupt if things are going over. You know, give a minute's warning if you feel that the speaker is going to run over time, and keep to that time. And then you can facilitate the question and answers after that. And keep making sure that you keep the questions and answers to the discussion and onto the topic, and that all of the discussions are inclusive.
Okay, thank you. I think you know, we all plan for the best and hope that our Congress sessions will all go, you know, really smoothly. But sometimes issues do occur, don't they? So sometimes we might have a delay with the slides coming up, or the microphone might fail, or something else might happen. How do you manage those situations?
Yeah, I think you're right. I mean, I think one of the things is, you know, be prepared for something to go wrong, because it may go wrong, and stay calm. Everybody in the room has presented before, or has been at these congresses, or has been in a position. It's normal for things to happen, and people will be understanding. So stay calm, stay professional. And the good thing about the EAPC Congress is that we have a huge amount of support. So in each room, there is the AV team. So they're there actually in the room. So any technical issues, they can deal with that. You don't have to worry. You just need to refer back to them, give them a moment. They're the experts. So there's professionals in each room, which for me, I know is very reassuring. You can also contact a member of the EAPC team if necessary. And you will probably have seen, by the time that you're chairing, you have seen where our main desk is. We will always have a big banner, and you can contact the EAPC team through the app as well. And there, you know, you can access any of the members. So be prepared that things may happen. Have it thought through in your mind beforehand. What would I do? I've often, when I'm chairing, I'll go and introduce myself as well to the AV person in the room, so you know their name, you know who to call on, when things go wrong.
Thank you. What about a situation where maybe the discussion might be kind of running off topic a bit, or the actual engagement after the speakers might yeah, kind of maybe going in a different direction? What would you do then?
Yeah, I mean, sometimes tricky situations can come up. Normally, everything is smooth, and there's actually usually a wonderful atmosphere in the room, and people are there to learn and support. And that's usually my experience, but anything can happen. And sometimes questions can veer off topic. And I think it's very important as a chair that you remain calm and you remain professional, and that you just, if you feel that things have changed or shifted and that maybe a question isn't quite as appropriate, that you just remind people that we're here, we're all here at the EAPC Congress under the EAPC Congress's code of conduct, that we have a safe and secure environment for all, and that we deal and treat everybody with mutual respect. And don't be afraid to close down a conversation and to say, we need to end that discussion here, and check that that the presenters are okay, particularly at the end of the session. If there's been something that you feel may have upset them, you know, follow up on that. But just remind people that we are there as professionals in a safe and secure environment, and we do have mutual respect for everybody who is in the room.
Yeah, that's really important, isn't it?
Yeah.
Okay, thanks, Patricia. I think that has been really, really useful, and I think it will be very helpful for our chairs. Would you have your top 3 tips for chairing a session that we can finish on?
Sure, yeah. So I think, as I said before, and for me, this is something that I would feel strongly about, is making the speakers feel supported and at ease. And particularly, I mean, because the language of the Congress is English, and for many people, English isn't their first language. So that in itself is a huge challenge. And it is so admirable for people to be presenting in a language that is not their native language, and understanding that that brings its own other level of anxiety. So making speakers feel supported is really important. I do think it's very important that this Congress and that everybody at it feels included, and that the discussion is inclusive and neutral, and that it's audience focused and focused on the research that has been presented. And the other thing is, a chair, we can get caught up in our own, I suppose, anxiety about being the chair and making sure that we're on time and everything. but actually take the time. It's actually such a privilege to chair because you get to hear all of this research. So make sure that you're present in the room and that you are listening actively. And it's much easier then to ask questions about the research. So remember to take a moment yourself as the chair to just be present and to listen actively to the research that's being presented. And enjoy the experience.
That's it. That's the main message, is hopefully everyone will enjoy the Congress. Thank you, Patricia. It's been a joy talking to you today. This video will go up now on our website for people to look at. So thanks very much.